In the glittering swirl of Port Charles society, few events hold as much significance or spectacle as the annual Nurses' Ball. It's a night of glamour, charity, and carefully crafted appearances, and this year, it becomes the epicenter of a personal earthquake that sends tremors through nearly every major family in town. In a revelation poised to fracture long-standing bonds and rewrite the destinies of those involved, the truth about Giovanni Palmieri's parentage will no longer be a carefully kept secret. In a matter of moments, a quiet lie spanning decades detonates into a full-blown scandal. Gio, the charming yet brooding young man who's carved a place for himself in Port Charles, is not who he thought he was, and the people he's called family are at the center of it all. Giovanni has lived most of his life believing he was the biological son of Camilla Palmieri, a loving, if enigmatic, figure who raised him far from the drama of the Quartermaines and the Falconeris. Her death, years ago, robbed him of the only parent he had ever known, or so he thought. It is only now, through a series of relentless investigations and obsessive probing, that the layers of deceit begin to unravel. And it all starts with a determined Lulu, fueled by suspicion and a gut feeling that something about Gio's background never added up. Joined by Cody, who has more emotional baggage than objectivity, she uncovers the first clue: Camilla was never pregnant. That fact alone is enough to ignite the fuse. Initially, Lulu's accusations seem misplaced, even unfair. She targets Brook Quartermaine with a vengeance, convinced that the Quartermaine heiress, along with her mother Lois Cerullo, has orchestrated an elaborate ruse. But what Lulu doesn't realize is how close to the truth she really is, and how wrong she is about the motivations behind the silence. The lie wasn't born out of malice, but of protection, fear, and heartbreak. But now, after 2 decades, the cost of secrecy has come due. And Gio, the man caught in the center, is left to collect the shattered pieces of his identity. At the moment of revelation, Gio is blindsided. The truth doesn't come with a gentle whisper but roars into the ballroom like a thunderclap. Eyes turn, gasps echo, and Gio finds himself exposed, not just to the public but to a private agony he never anticipated. Camilla, the woman he loved as a mother, had lied. She never told him he was adopted. And now, she's not here to explain, to comfort, or to face his rage. That betrayal cuts deepest of all, not because she deceived him, but because she's forever out of reach. There will be no closure from Camilla, only a gaping void where answers should have been. Lois, vibrant and fierce as ever, stands on trembling ground. She was there from the beginning. She knew. And in staying silent, she thought she was preserving peace. Now she faces the very child she once protected, a grown man demanding truth in a room full of watching eyes. Brook, equally shaken, cannot deny her past any longer. She gave up a child under circumstances few truly understand, and in doing so, believed she was offering him a better life. But now, that decision, however well-intentioned, has destroyed the fragile balance she built in her own life. And then there's Dante. For Dante Falconeri, this revelation is nothing short of existential. He never knew Brook was pregnant. never imagined that he had a son growing up without him. The weight of that truth crushes him in an instant. Suddenly, every moment he missed, every hug unshared, every lesson unspoken, they descend on him all at once. And worse still, Gio isn't just a son he never knew, he's a young man who's been subject to Dante's own judgment, criticism, even disdain. Their past interactions, already strained, now take on the bitter irony of unrecognized blood. There's a cruel symmetry to Dante's situation. Years ago, he was the son whose identity shocked sunny Corinthos to the core. He, too, had been kept secret, thrust upon a father who wasn't ready for the truth. Sunny had reacted with violence and denial. Dante had promised himself he would be better. But now, standing in his father's old shoes, he realizes how unprepared he is for fatherhood born in secrecy. The shame, the fury, the guilt, they come flooding in. Unlike Sunny, though, Dante doesn't have the luxury of lashing out without consequence. He knows how easily bridges burn, and he's already burned far too many with Gio. Yet perhaps the most quietly devastating impact lands on Gio himself. He isn't just the victim of lies, he's now a reluctant heir to legacies he never asked for. Quartermain privilege. Falconeri resilience. Expectations from two of Port Charles's most influential families. His world is no longer defined by his choices, but by their histories. And in the crowd that watches his pain unfold, there are whispers. Questions. Calculations. Who will claim him? Who will blame him? Who will love him? Rocco Falconeri, once thought to be a distant acquaintance, is now his half-brother. That realization alone is enough to disorient Gio. Their relationship, already tense, may not survive the truth. Gio doesn't know how to process brotherhood with someone who's always looked down on him, perhaps even feared him. And now, they're tied by blood. That bond, like all the others in Gio's life, has been forged not in trust, but in secrecy and silence. For Port Charles, the aftermath will be seismic. Families will fracture. Loyalties will shift. Some will rally around Gio, while others, uncertain or resentful, may push him further into isolation. The nurses' ball, meant to celebrate unity and compassion, becomes the stage for exposure and reckoning. And through it all, Gio stands in the eye of the storm, a young man whose identity has been stripped and rewritten in front of the entire town. The lies that were meant to protect him have instead weaponized the truth. The parents who once loved from afar now stand before him as strangers. And in the days to come, he will have to decide not just who he is, but whether the blood in his veins matters more than the scars on his soul. In the end, the revelation of Gio's true parentage doesn't just change his story, it resets the narrative for every character connected to him. A truth buried too long has finally surfaced, and Port Charles will never be the same again.